Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I think I see Ben as well. Hi, Ben.
Hey guys.
Hey, did you guys get the event ping for office hours?
No, I didn't get an event ping, but I don't think it normally pings anyone anyway. It's only
Okay.
the people who join, yeah, who selected.
Oh, okay. All right, because we only have 7 people in here. That seems suspiciously low.
Right. Yeah, some people joined a bit late though, so maybe give it a few more minutes.
No worries. We'll
Yeah.
hang out here for a little bit. So
Yeah.
how's everything in Korea been?
Everything's great. We've got great vibe going on here in Korea. We've got hacker houses, so for the audience here who have only just joined. Taiko are currently at ETHCon in Korea, and we're also in Korea Blockchain Week as well. So we sponsored the ETHCon hackathon over the past 3 days, and there were in total 34 groups who actually hacked and 17 teams actually hacked on Taiko. So yeah, we had quite a turnout. So 50% of the hacker groups were hacking on Taiko. So that's like really really cool. In terms of the actual um, community here as well, it's a very vibrant community, very very active, and it has a fantastic vibe also. So yeah, it's been an awesome experience so far. In addition to that, we've been doing some keynotes, we've been doing workshops as well, and we've been invited to a number of panels. So yeah, keep an eye out for us in Korea, guys, if many of you are here.
And what are you up to, Ben? What's keeping you busy in the blockchain week?
Um, that's an interesting topic. So for me, it's been we've been well, I've been actually manning a booth for the past few days and even yesterday. So we've been also doing side events. So I've been basically networking with a large number of the community here, and also with a large number of the hacker community as well. And as I mentioned, the hacker community here is quite vibrant. It's made up of, I think, 5 hacker houses in total, and the hacker houses actually have are actually live in houses. So the hackers stay at these locations, they hack, and they actually live there as well. So it's like a small community. So I've never actually seen anything like this. Maybe you guys have, but from my perspective, it was literally 5 buildings just dotted around like a small community area. They're all like apartment blocks, and in these apartment blocks, people live there. They also have working spaces, kitchens, and things like that, and like a nice rooftop as well. And it's pretty much like 5 buildings like this. And in each of these 5 buildings, you've got the hackers actually living there, and that is actually their life. So people stay there throughout the whole year, just doing hacking and
No
talking
way.
blockchain. Yeah. So they spend their, so it's not just here for the hackathon. They're actually here for literally, months at a time, for a whole, living there for a whole year, for example, building out a whole crypto community.
Wow, that's incredible. I don't think I've ever I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that.
No, it's the first time I've seen it, and like I said, it's been a real experience, and the people have been really, really welcoming as well.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you're having a great time in Korea, and I'm glad that there's a really cool like hacker community. That's definitely something I've wanted to get more experience with for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things I've noticed about Korea also is the diversification as well. Normally, when you go to hackathons, it's like I would say 90% of them is like male orientated. But coming here, even all the organizers, they were all females. So it's great to see the sort of diversification here, especially in the especially in the IT world, right, where it's very much male dominated. It's
Yeah.
great to see the diversification here for sure.
Hmm. That's incredible. That's really cool. That's yeah, I mean that's definitely something an effort that I've seen we've tried to get in Taiko for sure is to have like a really diverse both like community and team. And yeah, it's definitely really hard to break that kind of uh, that mold, I guess, for this kind of space. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we were invited to her DAO as well, which is like a female a female organized and female owned DAO. And we were like allowed to present there as well, and do a workshop there for their builders, for their female builders, and also for like a panel talk as well. So yeah, there's definitely more and more diversification now seen in the whole crypto space. And I think this sort of thing should definitely be encouraged more as well.
Hey, looks like we have a question in the chat from uh, Dev Devam. Gosh, I always have a hard time with his name. Uh, I'll just go Deve. Uh, yeah, what's the
The
topic for
VMNE.
today? There you go.
Yeah,
There you go. That was good.
yeah. So the topic for today is it's actually we swapped it out, Dave M&E. Normally we have the tea with Taiko, but the previous week we swapped it out for office for the tea with Taiko because we had the ZK pool. So today we're having office hours, so it's just general chit chat really. So if there's anything anyone wants to come on stage just to talk about, share their thoughts, share their ideas, what they've got going on. Happy to have you on stage, just chit chat really with some of the team. So what we've been just talking about is our trip here in Seoul. Just talking about the vibrant community. Alex has been asking me some questions about what it's like here in Korea, what the community's been like, what the hackathon's been like. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions.
Yeah, I could also briefly talk about Warsaw and San Francisco with the rest of the Ethereum event if anyone is curious to hear about that.
I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcus. Tell us. I know that you've been speaking at a couple of events. So maybe let's start off with which events you've been speaking at, and what do people think of Taiko at those events?
Yeah, so I was first at the Rust Ethereum event, I think, like 2 weeks ago, and there was like about 150 people there, and I think, yeah, I spoke to some of the ref team, and they were very curious to see Taiko experiment with the Reth client. which is the Rust Ethereum client that they're currently developing, and it's very performant. I think the sync time of Go Ethereum is about a month or a couple of weeks. The Rust Ethereum client is about 2 days, so it's crazy how performant it is. And I think there's other L2s that are curious about this client as well. I think Optimism did a short demo of like their sequencer or one of their nodes running the like a Reth fork. So it's exciting to see L2s are starting to pay attention to this. And I think when I was at ETH Warsaw, someone actually did a talk about client diversity not only in the scope of L1s but also L2s. And this is a question or like a concern that I've had for a while, and it was interesting to see someone talk about it as well. But in terms of what I spoke about at Warsaw, so there was a few different events. I was at first ZK Warsaw. I did a talk on Halo 2, and as like a joke, I brought a copy of the video game Halo 2 out during the presentation. People thought that was pretty funny. And then I gave a talk for L2 Beat, kind of just like a quick minimal talk on like, hey, we're Taiko, like we're trying to be as close to Ethereum as possible with a roll-up, and just super straight to the point. And people, I thought it was a bit short, and people said, hey, that was a bit short, but the audience loved it. They were like, you were very to the point, and it's very concise. So, and it was leading into the lunch break, so people were happy to have early lunch. But I was also on a panel too, I think the day after, with a bunch of other L2s. So I think Arbitrum was there, ZK Sync was there, and Scroll was there. And yeah, it was a fun talk. We were talking about like kind of the history and like the future of rollups and kind of like what challenges we have. And I think it's just a lack of awareness, because I mentioned that during the talk that I know people that have used Ethereum for years, but they haven't used even something like Uniswap. They've only used centralized exchanges. And I think one of the last major things I did was I gave a workshop for Solidity for Taiko, like showing how to connect to Taiko with MetaMask, and also how to like deploy some contracts with Foundry, and how to also verify your contracts in a single command. I also did a tutorial on how to deploy a smart contract with Socrates. So like, let's say that you have a bunch of private inputs and you want to hide them, and then like for the end purpose of the application, you just want to say like, hey, I know what the hash inputs are, but I can say I know the output. So that was the main idea, and that was working as well when I deployed it to Taiko. So that was a bit of what I did when I was at Warsaw.
Wow, that was quite a lot. That was yeah, no wonder you were so busy over the past couple of weeks. Yeah, just putting the presentations together and things is yeah, quite time consuming, right? Yeah, so yeah, we also did a couple of talks here in Korea as well. You know, learnings from a fully permissionless ZK rollup, and we also had you know, workshops as well on how to deploy a DApp on Taiko with Subgraph. We were involved with a couple of panels here as well. The future of ZK from a privacy, scaling, and innovation perspective. You know, especially when we started talking about you know, the new innovations that have come out over the recent weeks with zkVM in particular, and you know, multi-provers as well. Uh, and we also were talking to you know, with a number of other panelists around, you know, roll-ups and beyond. You know, what's happening with the innovations of the roll-up space. What other innovations there are, and what are the challenges that people faced as well. And you know, it was quite interesting around the challenges, because it all came to a lot of it came down to, you know, usability of the roll-ups, and also abstracting away from the end users that they actually are on a particular roll-up. You know, because ultimately you want to make things seamless for people. So, you know, they shouldn't actually even know whatever chain they're actually on. So we've got people actually developing things like wallets, for example, where you're sending something from that you have in your wallet, say Ethereum, and it's going over to Optimism or Arbitrum or zk-Sync or wherever. It doesn't matter where it's going, and in the future, Taiko as well. It shouldn't matter to the end user, for example, where those funds are lying. They're just sending it and it gets sent and it arrives at the destination. So they're trying to, abstract away all the various different types of roll-ups to make the products more user friendly at the end of the day. So I'm seeing a lot of innovations around those areas, especially cross-chain functionality.
Hey, I see a question in the chat that kind of relates to what you just brought up. It says, what are the most interesting projects you found there that you hope would build on top of Taiko as well?
So in terms of East Warsaw or Korea or both?
Either or, like
Yeah,
just for being out there, seeing all these projects and hacker groups and whatnot.
do you want to take that, Marcus?
Yeah, there weren't any particular ones, but one thing that I think is really important is just like as a general topic is account abstraction, because if someone is like a new user and they accidentally have a misclick or they do something where they go to a phishing site and they sign something and it's like a hot wallet, then they can lose stuff. But if we have account abstraction or multi-sigs, then I think it'll be safer for new users. So I think being able to have people come in and not lose what they have is important. But we didn't sponsor ETH Warsaw, so it was I didn't see any projects, I think, building on Taiko that I saw like at a glance. But Ben, were there any that you saw in Korea that were specifically like, did they only deploy to Taiko, or like, I don't know?
Yeah, so we had quite a number of projects deploying on Taiko, and some of them were quite interesting as well. So what we've done is on our Discord, I put out an announcement today in the events channel of all the winners from the actual hackathons, and we also put out a tweet as well, and in that tweet. It named all of the types of applications that people actually built on top of Taiko. So there were quite a number of things that people were doing, and I think one of the most interesting ones that I found was which we label as best infrastructure, was there was a team who wanted to actually deploy the whole of the Taiko rollup in one click. So they actually gave that a really good go. We thought it was like going to be really challenging for them to just basically do that in a whole weekend, but ultimately, they did most of it. Apart from they got stuck with the gas limit. So yeah, that was like a very interesting project, and they won because it was like really really innovative what they were trying to do. Just one click button to deploy the whole thing. We saw, you mentioned about account abstraction. Yes, we definitely saw a lot of those things as well, where people are trying to abstract away user complexities. And there were a number of areas where they were trying to do this. And one way of doing this was people were trying to create, say, simple payment links, for example. So instead of like having to type in like big long wallet addresses or even somebody's name, you just come up with like a payment link, pretty much like PayPal does, and all these other payment facilities do. You just click on a link, generate a link, you email the link out, and then somebody goes and collects the money. So they were doing things like that. And we also had another group that created like a social media thing. So, at these hackathons and when you start networking with a lot of people at these events, people are sharing things like their Telegram and their social media accounts. And whilst they're sharing these social media accounts, they're having to click on multiple buttons, type hi messages, and then take selfies and do all sorts of things just so that they can exchange this sort of information. So this team actually created like a what we call it a public good, because we felt that it actually benefits everybody in the whole environment. So what they developed was, click and take a photograph of yourself. They use the ZK proof to prove the whole actual activity took place. And then as soon as you send it, it sends not only the selfie, it sends like the hi message along with like the business card and everything. So there's none of this like exchanging, validating that you've connected, writing your message, and then going to take a selfie so that you know who you actually communicated with. So it was all done using ZK proofs in the back end, and yeah, it was a really interesting project.
Wow, that's a lot. That's really cool. I get really interested in hearing about like the like infrastructure kind of projects and stuff like that, where it's like again dealing with like account abstraction and all that, where it's that push towards allowing people to not even realize that they're interacting with stuff on chain and all that. I think that's really quiet. That's the fun part of like well, once you build a roll up and you have cheaper Ethereum and all that, like with Taiko, the next step is like, okay, well, what now? Like, what do you do with it? So I think it's really interesting to see like what the future kind of looks like for like mainnet Taiko. What's going to be happening on chain.
I think that's a very interesting topic, because Taiko being an Ethereum equivalent chain, being a type 1, we're not really looking for or targeting any specific applications to run. So anything and anything actually goes. So you can build, your DeFi products on Taiko. You can build games on Taiko, and people can build bundlers for account abstraction. Have wallets, you name it. It's at the end of the day, we are trying to build an extension of Ethereum. So ultimately, we're not targeting any specific applications. And with all the builders and developers that we have in our community, I'd be really interested to see what people are building. And I know that one of our major guys here, Dave M&E, for example, he's building like a proving pool as well. So, there's things that people are doing from a proving perspective, and yeah, we had ZK Pool on last week as well, and they were doing like a pool of provers to help um, end users as well. So it's all interesting stuff that's coming out from different people through innovation, through the challenges that the users face. Because at the end of the day, all of these things that people are developing, if it wasn't for the fact that it's hard, then the simplicity to try in ingenuity to try to simplify these actions won't happen, because at the end of the day, if people find it so easy to do, then everybody will just do it. But because some people are finding it more challenging to do, people are coming up with innovative ways to help others. And I think that's part of like community building as well, right? You have people coming on board, have difficulties, and you have all the OGs that we have here within our community trying to help those people, trying to come up with new coding, new ways to do things, better ways of doing things, just to help people on board. And I think that's the greatness of having community here.
That is very well put, Ben. Okay, so it looks like we have like 5 minutes left. I want to make sure that we open up the floor to anybody. If you guys have any questions, if you want to raise your hand to speak, and we can let you on stage. You guys are just as much a part of this as we are.
Yeah, guys, come on board, ask us any questions. Any whatever your experiences are as well of building on Taiko. Happy to hear from you guys.
Also, feel free to type stuff in the chat if you want, and we can read those out as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention really quick. There was another side event called Peanuts and Pints, and they had kind of a similar panel as well. But the host for that is actually Peanut Protocol. They have a form of account abstraction where you basically have like a link you click on, and yeah, you do payments through a link. So they were doing a promotional thing where they would put like QR codes on like beer, and if you got the QR code, you would get like $1 of USDC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just shared the protocol and the chat if anyone wants to check that out.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I haven't actually heard anything about them before.
Oh, I see. Send crypto with a link. Nice. Yeah, we'll go and
yeah,
check
that
this
looks like
out.
it. Marcus, I had a question for you. I know we're getting close to the end here, but I did have a question kind of relating more to Taiko itself. I was wondering, with being in trying to be as close to Ethereum as possible, there's kind of a lot of ways to do that. And there's one thing that I think about, we've been talking about like multi-provers and things like that, but when it comes to like client diversity with like Taiko, how will that work as we move forward? Because I know we have like our official, our node software and implementation, but how does stuff like client diversity work with Taiko when it's hard enough to build a single client on your own, especially during a test net? Maybe you might have some insight.
So I think we could do this in stages, right? I don't think we necessarily have to put all of the modifications we need for the L2 first, but I think one thing to test first is to make it, because like we recommend people to run a Cipolline node on there first, right? Otherwise they will get rate limited, and we don't want that, and it has to be an archive node too. So typically we tell people to run Lighthouse, which for the consensus layer, which is pretty fast, and run Rust and Geth right now. But I think once the Reth team implements the storage component of the Merkle tree for the ETH get proof RPC method, then I think we'll be able to start trying that with the L1. So let me actually share a link to this this Twitter post that I think Georgios made not too long ago. So I think I actually talked to the ref team like in person. I mentioned this, and they're like, yeah, we actually used to support this fully, but they cut it because it wasn't optimized. And I think Nethermind is also like kind of trying to scrap their database layout because it's not very efficient. So all these clients are trying to compete now to have more efficiency with their databases. That's one component of it.
Got it. So right now, we've been building off of Geth, correct? And then once Rust is Reth, the Rust implementation is complete, you guys can start kind of building on that kind of code base.
Yeah, and I think we're also in talks with like Nethermind as well. And I had a conversation with them at their booth because at the end of the talk for client diversity, it looked like the Nethermind client diversity dropped. It used to be 20%. It looked like it dropped to 7%. So I went over to Nethermind booth to ask like, hey, like, or, like something happened, and they're like, no, it's just the website isn't tracking the client as accurately now. It's still about 20%, which is good. So yeah, they're very supportive. They've been doing a lot of support for Starknet, but they're also curious to help other L2s out for client diversity, which is great. I think they have the fastest snap sync out of all the clients for the execution layer, at least.
Thanks, Marcus. I appreciate the info. Yeah, it looks like we're at the half-hour mark. Ben, is there anything you wanted to add or say before we wrap things up here?
Oh, actually, there was one other thing I wanted to add really quick. So we use Halo 2, right? So that's a Rust package. So the team does have like Rust experience. So and I have Rust experience too, so I could hopefully try to contribute if there are any things I could test. I also have some Hive test suite experience, so maybe I could try to help with that too. For the Rust integration.
Thank you,
Ben?
Marcus. Yep. So yeah, from my side, not much more to cover as we're running out of time. Just like to remind people that if you guys are in Singapore, we are going to be at East Singapore next week, along with Token 2049. So we'll have quite a number of our engineers there, as well as our co-founders. So if you're in the area, you can pop by and say hello. Next week, we're also going to make a slight change to the agenda as well. So normally we have like the office hours planned, but next week we'll do a tea with Taiko. We're going to have Lisa on board with us next week, and she's going to be talking about proving different multi-prover systems. So yeah, that'll be like an interesting tech talk for everybody next week. So stick around for that one, and we will announce that probably on Friday this week. So keep an eye out for that. It will be at the same time as the normal office hours, today. So yeah, please keep an eye out for the invitation.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if that's it from everyone else, I think that we can wrap up our office hours. Yeah, I just want to say thanks for everybody for joining. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be around more often, trying to host and hang out here with you guys. So yeah, please feel free to ask questions whenever. Hop up on stage. Yeah, just hang out with us. So yeah, this was fun. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, everyone. Good job.
All right.
Take care, everyone. See you all next week.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.